What's going on, everybody, man? My apologies, you guys. Oh, my goodness. Matter of fact, hold on. Give me 1 second, you guys. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, man. I went to go see a old friend. Um, Yeah, actually, she's actually been on a travel channel. So a woman I used to work with, she's from Colombia, a little town called Hamundi, right outside of Cali. Um, so I'm like, if you are OG of the Travel Channel, you probably know who I'm referring to. I'm like, and I vlogged it as well. So, because while I've been gone the last 6 months, I went and got her a few things. Because she always look out for me whenever she would go back and forth to Colombia in the United States. She would always come back with something for me. Always got me something on my birthday. So like she always been real cool. I'm like, she's actually gonna go to uh Tennessee with me next month. So and y'all know I'm gonna vlog that too. So I'm like, so that should be dope too. Anyway, let's see who we got in here. Uh and once again I apologize for being late. So hopefully Rilla and Passport Blueprint will be able to come through. I sent both of you guys. I believe I sent both of you guys the link. Okay, really in here. Let's see what Passport Blueprint is. Because Passport Blueprint was hitting me up earlier. In the meantime, y'all follow me on TikTok at Average Man Unplugged as well as um, Instagram. It's funny, like, let me keep my mouth shut. We gonna keep it culture tonight. I tell you. Oh man, hell no. One second, y'all. Man, my apologies, man. Like, it was a big ass fly flying up through here. I'm like, oh hell no. Uh, oh Lord, everybody at me. All right, man. Again, you guys, apologies. Link to the travel vlog channel. Link to the music channel. I did just drop another mixtape today, you guys. So if you are not subscribed to the music channel, definitely go over there real quick and come back. A new mixtape, Volume 2, Passport Music, just dropped today. So definitely check that out. If you watched any of the uploads today, then you already um, heard some of it. Uh, and that is the new Cash App tag, and as well as my email address if you want to send anything you want me to react to. Um, I don't know where Passport Blueprint at. Corey ain't even. Damn, bro. Uh, okay. I'll try to give him. I still got to go through the chat. I'll give him a chance to come on, bro. Passport Blueprint, bro. If you watching, man, or you hear this, brother, I'm just waiting on you. Like, really, already in the room. See, we got my moderator, Alex What, in the building. Eternal Virtues, what's going on? Yeah, see, I'm like, yeah, because he had hit me up around this time. Oh, yeah, around this time, I was on my way back home. Cause I looked up at my phone and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Damn!" I'm like, I lost track of time. Like you know how it is, man. You seen an old friend? Cause I'm like, I haven't seen her since me and her vlogged together right before I left before Southeast Asia last year. So yeah, but she definitely played a part of me traveling too. Cause I remember me and her had when we were talking tonight. She was like, "Yeah," she was like, "Remember when I told you you should have got your passport?" She was like, "And now look at you." She was like, "Yeah." I was like you also one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Colombia too. So with her being from there, Tiger Man 511, what's up, brother? Money Mitch, what's going on? Craig, what's going on? G, Cold Father X, what's up, brother? Nah, Michael Gates, you just in time because I'm actually running late, man. So again, my apologies, you guys. Like I said, I was catching up with an old friend and like just really dope. Like for real, she's like one of the reasons why I fell in love with that Colombian culture, man. Cause like it's very rare that like you meet a woman that's just willing to like spend money on you, like just cause they fuck with you. You feel me? Like, cause I'm like when she got me a gift, I was like, she was like, "Yeah, it's your birthday." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Like, I don't know. And then whenever she would come back from Colombia, she would always have something for me. So it was just like, I don't know, man. It just hit different. Rose, what's up, man? See who? Howard Pratt, Chris Jett, what's up, man? Shout out to all my members, man. All right, man. So let me go on ahead and I'm gonna bring these guys on. I mean, most of y'all pretty much know who these guys are, but I'm gonna let them introduce. I'm gonna bring them on, let them introduce themselves, give them a brief description of what they do, and what their background is, um, and um, we'll just go from there. All right. So without further ado, bringing in Life with Rilla and Passport Blueprint, and you, one of my moderators, please drop their links in the chat for the audience.
How's it going? How's it going?
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How's it going, brother? It's good to see you again. It's
Good to
been a
see
while.
you, brother Rilla.
Good, 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 man. Just had a great dinner at my one of my favorite places, man, Texas Roadhouse.
There we go.
Caught up with an old friend, man. Yeah, it's pretty dope, pretty dope. Um,
Good stuff. What'd you eat?
it was like this. I think it was like some like honey herb, like honey herb glazed chicken or something with the salad and some mac and cheese.
And I'm over here dieting, but that sounds fire.
Well, I try to keep it semi healthy with the chicken and the salad, you know. I mean, the mac and cheese is a bit much, but I keep it fairly clean for the most part, for real, for real.
Right.
I try to anyway. Um, but yeah, man, you guys introduce yourselves. Um, whoever want to start first. With
I'll
some
let
brief
Rilla start
description.
first. Everybody pretty much knows me too well.
We'll let Rilla go first, man. Cause
Yeah, no worries. So, how's it going, everybody? Life with Rilla. So, I'm a software engineer. have about 3 years of experience under my belt in the industry. Got my start in coding and learning how to code back in 2019, right before the pandemic. Before all of this, I was a struggling artist doing the whole like trying to pursue music thing, living out in Los Angeles. Pretty much ran into a roommate over there who was living a vastly different lifestyle than I was, right? I'm here struggling as an artist, driving Uber, and the guy sleeping in the room next to me is pulling in like 12 grand every 2 weeks. So obviously over time that caught my eye. You know, when I learned through him that I didn't need a degree to start learning how to code and to enter the industry, that's when I started researching. Eventually found an ad for a coding boot camp called Lambda School, and was pretty much all in at that point. Joined the school, and from there landed my first position after graduating the coding boot camp as a software engineer, and worked a little bit of time with the coding boot camp in the ed tech sector prior to joining the e-commerce company that I worked for. But that's just a short version of my career so far, and I'll hand it over to Passport Blueprint.
Hey, everybody. I am currently a SOC analyst, which stands for Security Operations Center Analyst. I got my start from a program with the VA called Vet Tech. I did my boot camp at a place called Intellectual Point, and we did that virtually. There was 3 certifications I was supposed to get out of it, but unfortunately I failed one of the exams. So I have Security Plus and Certified Ethical Hacker. Currently right now, I'm toning my skill sets more towards being a CTI analyst, which is a cyber threat intelligence analyst. And I do that because I came from the military intelligence background when I served overseas. So I want to carry that experience over to the cyber world. So basically, this is what I'm kind of gearing up, along with doing threat hunting and penetration testing. Hopefully, I will later on get certified as a red team operator, and I'll explain all that later.
Awesome, man. So you are a 35 mic.
Yep.
There we go.
Down there, hoochie coochie.
For those of you guys who don't understand any of that, is military jargon. The MOS 35 mic is individual
human intelligence collector.
There you go.
Which is basically the army version of a spy, like the CIA.
Right. I got that actually came up as one of the MOSs I could have taken. For some reason, I took logistics for whatever reason, and then became a truck driver. So no idea what I was thinking there, but that's awesome, man.
Okay. So what I wanted to do, if you wanted, I don't know if you wanted to like dive in a little bit more into what exactly you do, since you are a bit of a fresher face, Rilla, but chat, if you got any questions for either one of these guys, man, please drop them down, and I'll go ahead and bring them to the screen, and they'll answer any questions you guys got.
Awesome. So I will say, just a little bit of a disclosure, the tech industry right now, I do think it's going through a bit of a lull. Of course, there's ups and downs in the markets. As always, I'm currently unemployed, seeking out work or whatnot. But, I'm essentially a full stack developer, just, can develop applications both on the front end, back end, and create, any e-commerce platform, essentially. I work with people like Passport Blueprint sometimes to make sure that the applications are secure, while he works on probably more pipeline things on the security end.
Yeah. There's a lot of, first and foremost, a lot of you guys have asked me questions about what certifications to get as far as cybersecurity. And I appreciate the you guys coming to me for advice. The thing is that you got to know what position you want in cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is vast. That's just like saying, well, I want to be in criminal justice. What do you want to do in criminal justice? You have to really narrow down the positions, and there's so many positions that you want to get the right cert so you can save money, because you can end up doing stuff and getting the wrong cert that you don't really need and wasted all that money. So I'm a victim of that. So know exactly what actual career you want to do in cybersecurity. Another thing is, when you look at cybersecurity, that's Homeland. You're basically part of Homeland Security. Whether you're working for the government, contracting, private sector, whatever hits here, it affects the whole community. And to work, I know a lot of you guys want to work overseas doing this job. That's why I wanted Rilla to speak first, because that's the alternative you can go with as far as you want to be a digital nomad. But a digital nomad in cybersecurity, that's going to be extremely tough. You have to understand that you're in a foreign land under their jurisdiction, and they can do whatever. You can have like a group of cops come over to your house and say, we need to seize your computer. You ain't got no justification, nothing. You up in that computer up, or you're going to jail. Getting intercepted by rogue actors, rogue states, all that stuff that can happen on some of these countries. So you need to understand about cybersecurity before you start saying, hey, I want to get my cert and then go overseas and make US money, because you can do that with government, with the GovTech contracts, like with the military and stuff, but you're going to be on a military base and you're going to be someplace probably in the Middle East, if not England, maybe Germany. That's all going to be.
Right.
If you're talking Brazil, Thailand, all that stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say it's kind of the same for most government roles that you pick up, right? So for you guys that aren't aware, there's a few sectors that you can go and work within. The private sector is more like privately owned companies. There's the public sector, which are companies out on the market, NASDAQ, all of that. You also have the government contracting side of things and GovTech side of things. And when you're working for the government, it's typically a lot harder to be able to travel just generally. First they have people like Passport Blueprint who are monitoring traffic, right? So if even if you're a software engineer working for some government agencies, they require that you secure your computer, and you work within you got to work within certain SOPs, standard operating procedures. And so if you're working for the government, they could pick up where you're working at anywhere in the world. So for cybersecurity, there are some private roles or roles that you could do out in the public sector. It's just a lot harder to pick up those jobs, right? Than it is. There's definitely more of an abundance of cybersec jobs within the government realm. I would say I don't know a single person that's working in cybersecurity, and I know plenty that aren't working for the government. So that kind of makes it a challenge for you guys. Also, I would add to that the same thing applies. For software engineering, there's literally so many different disciplines that you could do in software engineering with coding. Everything from front-end development to back-end development to DevOps to testing and QA, to being yeah.
I was gonna say, because I kind of wanted to segue into what you're speaking on, because somebody was asking a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Related to what you're saying. I'll put it up on the screen for you. It says life with Rilla. What are the first steps to learning coding, and which do you prioritize first when learning them? As I am going into IT school for it, help desk, and I want to continue. And I want to continue to add skills.
Um, well, you see, this one's sort of a broad question, right? So you're in school currently to learn the discipline of how to work, at a help in a help desk position. And so that's sort of like where I would tell you to focus first, since you're in school for it, sort of go all in there, learn whatever the school is teaching you, try to land your first job, and then start researching what is software engineering, what are the different roles or careers and paths that you could take as a software engineer. And if any of those interest you later down the line after you land your position as a person, working the help desk, then you can start to kind of pivot away from there. But a mistake that a lot of people do when it comes to learning the code is that they get this thing I call it shiny object syndrome, right? Is they want to pick up every new technology, they want to learn AI, they want to learn how to build an app, they want to know how to do all of these different things, but all of those various skills take quite a long time to learn, and they could be jobs in and of themselves. Try not to be the person who gets shiny object syndrome. And if you're learning one thing, just kind of stick to it until you master it and then move on to the next thing. I will also say just start building projects and adding things to your portfolio so you could be hireable as soon as possible. I hope that answers your questions. But if you have another one, like follow up, and I'll continue from there.
Also, to follow up on that, on the cybersecurity side, don't be chasing paper dragons. That's basically trying to get all these certs. Um, like Rilla said, you gotta master what you know before you move on. Um, it all this takes time. It takes money out of your pocket. You got to develop your own training budget. I just dropped 500 on a course. That's going to probably give me about like 6 certifications. And I just started on one, and this training program is hard. It's hard to even pass the little module quizzes. That's how it's challenging. But it's one of the premier things you'll hear in cybersecurity called the MITRE attack framework. It's their training, and they are no joke. They are like, in a sense, the gods in sense of gathering information about malware, threat actors, tactics and techniques, all that stuff. So I'm doing that training right now, and it's tough as a mother. So,
Yeah.
and I just finished the pen testing training that I just did just to keep my certs up.
hmm that's the big difference right there between coding, software engineering, and app development or mobile app development and things like that, or infrastructure, depending on what you're doing, compared to cybersecurity. Is that cybersecurity realm is a very heavily certified field compared to being a software engineer, where on this side certifications really don't matter as much, and the ones that do are few and far between. There aren't too many certifications that really hold that much weight in the full stack development realm. Outside of things like AWS and maybe some cloud certifications, I can't really think of many certifications on this side that would really even impact your salary very much. Where on the cybersecurity side, it's almost like you're living, eating, and breathing, getting certified to, get to the next level. So that's another thing to consider as you're, entering anything in the IT field regarding to any of these disciplines.
Yeah, just to add on to that, you're going to have, when you get your major certifications, um, like CompTIA, EC Council, and all the rest of them out there, you're going to have to maintain those because they're only good for 3 years. Then you have to develop, you're either going to take a test after those 3 years, or you're going to just during those 3 years get what we call CE credits. That's when you attend any training, webinar, and stuff like that. You'll get credit for, and you'll just submit the certifications to that organization and pay a fee. Like I said, I just finished this ethical hackers pen testing boot camp just to finish off my credits for EC Council. So when I pay their fee, my certification will probably be good till 2029.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know this show is about tech, but it's also about digital nomadship. And one thing that I'll tell you guys is, there's a number of disciplines that you could, take on to become a digital nomad. Tech is just one of many. Definitely the benefits to joining a tech discipline like software engineering or full stack development or coding in general is that it opens the door for you to be able to work in any way that you'd like. You could be a freelancer doing gigs off of like Upwork and Fiverr and platforms like that, or getting your own clients and building sort of like a digital marketing agency, so to speak, on the IT side of things, or web development agency. And that's one way of working. You can also work for a company that might let you work from abroad. You could start a company, build an application or a service or a SaaS product and be an entrepreneur. That's really one of the main things that like attracted me into learning to code, because if you're talking about wanting to go live abroad, you need something that you almost need to not be under the will of your employer, if you want to be abroad full time, because it can be kind of hard to find companies that'll let you just work from abroad. It's not very common yet. I hope that it's something that'll open up more in the future. But as of right now, it's a challenge, and a lot of companies now are pushing for employees, now that we're in an employer market, is pushing for employees to return to the office, so just something to consider, before you dive deep into this.
Yeah, let me answer that. Let me address that comment, Rome. Cybersecurity, if you're talking in terms of working overseas, and I know we talked about the US base, but now I'm gearing off to private industries. There are people who are overseas working in cybersecurity. I don't know what their situation is. They are working remotely, making US dollars in another country. I don't know what their situation is, but that is going to be an extreme rarity. Do not count on that happening. You have to understand you are dealing with Homeland Security stuff. And like Rilla had said, your computer locked up on a base somewhere, it's ultimately secure. You talking about at your place? No, you can get robbed. You can have, like I said, rogue agencies come and take your computer, and next thing you know, they're messing with your clients and stuff like that. You have a lot more opportunities of getting probably malware or hacked or what have you. So I know a lot of people have talked about that and doing that with cybersecurity, but like I said, that is an extreme rarity. I don't know any position that, first of all, trying to get work remotely, even in the US, good luck. Especially you fresh out with a new cert coming out of boot camp. I can tell you, I was in this veteran program when I did my boot camp. We had a lot of vets, and I'm one of the few that got a gig. I'm one of the very few.
Yeah. I'll second that, man. Even as a software engineer, it's a lot more common. There's a lot of remote jobs still available. But in terms of finding one that a company that's going to let you live across seas, good luck. you know,
Good luck
you
on that
you
one. Yeah.
you have to like do it behind your employer's back and risk, getting fired or laid off because of it. You could get a VPN and router and try to work game the system like that. But if you're working for a government company or a large company that has a cybersecurity team that can detect where you're working from and get around VPNs and routers, or detect add odd patterns that's hints them that you're not working from where you say, it's really tough to do so. So if I were to give any advice, if you enter this field, would be to find smaller startup companies. If your ambition is to make high six figure in the industry, uh, and you want to work abroad, it's going to be tough. But if you want to work for smaller companies, that'll pay you anywhere from 80 to 120, and live abroad and use a VPN and router, it's possible. But still, majority of the jobs are trying to push people back into the office right now. I do like, let's talk about that blueprint, because, there's two things. There seems to be people that I've spoken to in the industry or that are learning how to code and all of that seem to be concerned about, one, the rise of AI, how that's going to impact things moving forward. But secondly, the state of the economy. There seems to be a lot of fear mongering around, oh, coding is done, it's finished, AI is ending things, and people are I think, misinterpreting, the current state of the economy and finding work as the impact that AI is having on the industry, and that's the sole reason. But what do you think in terms of AI, the state of the economy, and all of that, and advice that you'd give to anyone coming up now?
AI is not there, and this is my opinion. It's not there, and it's going to be a while before it gets there, because you have to understand AI is based upon what is being inputted in that computer to make it work.
Mhm.
It can be fed accurate information, it can be felt false information, because if you really was to look at it, you wouldn't have a Bing AI, you wouldn't have a Yahoo AI, you wouldn't have a Chat GPT. Everything would be in one area, one consolidated platform for you to get your information. You have it now in different areas because it's all corporate.
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah.
corporations. So is it useful? Very much. I use it. And it does have some value, but it's not always totally accurate depending on which AI platform you're using. So it still has a ways, but I usually look for it for information and to help me out in whatever situation I'm dealing with, in terms of, like, I'm building my lab, and if I'm stuck on something, I will go to AI to ask a question about it just to
Yeah.
get more information.
My approach, and what I always tell people, outside of that, another issue is the hallucinations that AI has and how it feeds inaccurate information and things like that. So it's just one of those things. I agree, it is a long ways off, but also, a lot of people are concerned about AI who are joining this field, not realizing that when you get in this field, you're going to be a lifelong learner, right? And so with that, like, you're always updating your skills. There's new information coming out. And if AI was to enter the zeitgeist and you had to learn about AI and how to learn to work with AI, if you are entering this industry, you're expected to be a lifelong learner, expected to learn how to, use those tools and skills. And so don't fear AI, just adapt to it.
Yeah, just like a mutual friend of ours, me and Rome's, Theo Waff, shout out to him. He has a training budget, where he's got to constantly learn new things. This is I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's constant learning. Once you get in these fields, you're not going to stop. You can't stop learning, because if you stop learning, you're going to stagnate and
Mhm.
you're going to just be behind everybody else.
Yep, your skills become irrelevant, and after a few years, you become unemployable outside of working on legacy systems. So that's the one downside to it. But hey, that's the name of the game entering this thing. I'm wondering, Rome, is there anyone that has been answering, asking any other questions? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, my apologies. No, not really. Yeah, guys, if anybody in the chat, if y'all had any questions, man, please feel free to ask. Just a few comments though sound like they're agreeing with some of the stuff that y'all said. I know
Mhm.
y'all said I know you mentioned the job market is tough.
Yeah,
Some mentioned that.
And there's plenty of jobs in cybersecurity. It's just you have to get in it
yeah.
first.
Yeah, and
That's the problem.
there's a lot of competition too. So tech right now is getting beat up. The economy is essentially tough for every industry. Every industry is taking a degree to one extent or another. I would actually say we're like in early 2008, right prior to a recession. If you're paying attention to the market and the economy, there's a bunch of indicators. I don't want to get too jargony and all of that, but the SOM rule has been triggered. This is finance talk, market stuff, just signals that are signaling that a recession is on the way. The Fed is trying to land this quote unquote soft landing, but I don't see that happening in this economic cycle. Intel just laid off 15,000 people. Dell laid off 12,000 people, and that was this week alone. There's a lot of pain, and so if you are entering this, you got to have a long-term mindset and think a year from now, or a year and a half from now, and still be willing to grind and apply to jobs and try to get your foot in the door somewhere. But if you're struggling to find work right now, I actually think applying to jobs and just code applying at this moment and where the economy is a complete waste of time. It's more about who you know and who you're networking with. I think there's more value in networking, being on LinkedIn, maybe creating content and displaying your skill set and trying to get, CTOs, chief technology officers, recruiters, and all these sorts of individuals to reach out to you to give you an opportunity. But also, again, as I said, network, go to events, and try to get your foot in the door that way. Because if you just look on LinkedIn and see how many applications are being sent per jobs, we're talking hundreds and thousands of people applying to the same job at the moment, because jobs a dried up and companies are hiring less, but b, there's a lot of layoffs happening and there's people with more experience who are out there competing with the other freshers that are graduating college. And it's just this really bad cocktail of, excuse my language, but shit that's happening right now in the economy, that's just making it a tough market. But just like any other economic cycle, we'll enter a period of recovery. Jobs will come back. It's just when interest rates are high, uh, investors aren't willing to invest as much. Companies can't take out loans to extend their runway, and so it becomes a game of efficiency and companies trying to get the most bang for their buck, compared to spending and going on hiring sprees in a lower interest rate environment. Sorry to yap on, but yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted to add on to that because you had mentioned the layoffs. Because those
Mhm.
companies that you mentioned, I heard what the amount of people, excuse me, the amount of people that they laid off this week. That's just only a fraction of who they plan on laying off.
Oh yeah, if
They,
there's a
they,
recession.
yeah, they plan on laying off thousands more too.
If there's a recession, oh yeah, for sure. If we enter a recession, companies across the board are going to be laying off people. There's going to be that initial shock until the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates and starts stimulating again, right? But it's kind of a tough environment to start stimulating because the Federal Reserve has been fighting inflation. And the Federal Reserve only has two mandates: keep employment as high as possible, and to fight inflation at the moment. And both of those are counter to one another. So they're trying to keep interest rates high, which is lowering employment, but also benefiting on lowering inflation. And so if they lower the rates too quickly and start to overstimulate the economy, then inflation starts to go back up, and we end up in this cycle of having to increase and decrease interest rates. And that can actually create a worse economic situation if the market loses confidence in the Federal Reserve. So, it's a really tricky time. If we enter a recession, there's going to be that initial shock of companies laying off a bunch of people, and we'll just have to kind of wait it out and see. If I'm being completely honest, I stopped my job search and started posting here on YouTube and creating a bunch of content, uploading 2 videos a day, daily, because I know how tough, the job search market is right now. And I'm just kind of waiting, 90 to 120 days to see if we do enter a recession, because we're right there by the end of the year or by the election, I think is when recession will be mentioned.
We got a couple questions in the chat now for you guys. Okay. Arlistic Entertainment says, what do you think some of the main softwares people can use to get ahead?
I'm going to assume you mean in the context of coding and software engineering or cybersecurity.
But I would both.
Right. So, I would say AI tools definitely do help, but just the basics, anything that's going to help you to be more efficient, right? To get jobs done, not only quickly, but in a secure fashion, right? So that goes hand in hand with your technical skills and your knowledge, but also with utilizing AI, to get the job done in a way that's scalable, efficient, etc. But in terms of like what softwares to use, I don't really have too many. I use VS Code and a bunch of plugins, and sometimes I'll refer to AI if I'm stuck on bugs or things like that. But outside of that, I'm not really doing anything too crazy when I'm coding. Yeah. What do you think, Blueprint?
On the cybersecurity side, I know a lot of people go get their CompTIA or whatever sort of Google cybersecurity, whatever. I'm gonna tell you this right now, so you can kind of stand out. One SIEM, one coding, one operation language. Operation language, no Linux. Okay. Code, Python is easy. Just got to practice it. So Python or PowerShell, Ruby,
Oh, okay.
yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
SIEM,
You see,
SIEM
sorry, man.
SIEM stands for Security Information Event Management. That's what you're going to actually operate on your computer. And the most popular one out there is Splunk. You can go to the Splunk website and learn how to operate their SIEM, get certified in that. That's going to open up a little bit more doors for you as far as the cyber side. As if you're going to be like a SOC analyst. Okay. If you're talking anything else above that, pen testing, that's going to take years. Red teaming, and reason why I said red teaming, you can probably do that overseas. one, that's going to take years for you to get. It's a very advanced certification. And you need to have some background in pen testing to do stuff like that. Because basically what a red team is, just like in the military, these guys are attacking us to test our system. So that's pretty much, you're pretending to be a black hat hacker.
Now that's interesting. You see, I noticed you answered that question and interpreted software as technology. So I didn't, for some reason, I didn't pick up on that. If we're speaking of in terms of like technology for software engineering, I would just try to go towards, the technologies that have, the most job opportunities opened up. And so you're going to have to, do some keyword research, right? So look up various technologies, right? I know React on the front end is very popular. So look that up and compare it to other technologies, on the front end, whether that's Ember or Angular, etc. And just choose one of the popular ones if you're going to be entering the field. You could go super niche. The thing is when you're entering, those niche environments, you don't know what the competition is like. So it's a little more vague. That would be my general advice.
And earlier, Rilla had said about networking. That is probably going to be your best way to get in. LinkedIn, get LinkedIn Premium, pay the money, have people look at your stuff. Make sure you write your LinkedIn profile professionally with a professional picture in it. Because I can tell you instances where I've met people when I was doing Ubering, picking up recruiters, and they want to ask, can I, you got a LinkedIn page? I tell them my LinkedIn page, and your LinkedIn page is basically going to be your resume.
It's funny you
And they're the
mentioned
ones
that.
that's going to be pushing your stuff around, bro.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was looking at this comment right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It says I want to add as a tip the software/development have a good portfolio and GitHub. A lot of people
Right.
overlook this.
So for those of you who are super fresh and don't know, GitHub is a online repository where the code for your applications live. And so that is the place where the code is housed. Right? You can push code to a repository, and then it gets hosted elsewhere through other services. But ensuring that on GitHub, you're getting your green squares, that all of that stuff is filled out. Maybe that you're contributing to open source projects, and have some contributions that you can show off on that end is really beneficial. Having applications that are more than just displaying some stuff to a screen, actually doing CRUD operations. CRUD is just create, read, update, delete. It's an acronym. If you think about a Facebook post, you can create a Facebook post, right? You can, when it's posted to the screen, that's it being read. You can update and edit and update your Facebook post, or you can delete it. So that's kind of an example of what CRUD is. You want to have applications that do all of those functions, versus just a very simple application, maybe something that you put out into the wild and have some visitors and have traffic that you actively have to maintain, maybe even generating some income from it. I think that is how you really stand out in the development space. And recruiters and hiring managers would love to talk about that, and hear about how you're able to generate traffic, and create an extra source of revenue. If you're able to do that, that's a tall order. Not a lot of people are going to be able to do that. So if you're really fresh, at bare minimum, having a full stack app that does all the CRUD functionalities is like a bare minimum requirement at this moment. If you can learn something, and this is, by the way, later down the line, if you've learned how to develop apps and it's full stack, and you can integrate AI to some extent, then I would do that. Now, AI, I think right now is going to be in a little bit of a slump since some companies had some pretty bad earnings report
But
over the
hold on,
last two
hold on.
weeks.
Hold that thought, because I want you to answer this question because it's related
Yeah,
to AI.
yeah.
Wow, because I ain't forget about you, Sash. What are your thoughts on AI replacing jobs and layoffs in the tech space?
So this is actually what Blueprint answered a little bit earlier, and I agree with his question. I think that AI is a or his answer. I think that AI is a good productivity tool, a good efficiency tool, but it's not a productivity tool, right? Companies are only taking in so much work, only putting out so much work, and it's not really creating the economic factor where AI is producing a lot of work that the company needs to do and is growing exponentially and replacing jobs at this point, right? So there's as he mentioned earlier, it requires human input and the output needs to be monitored and validated. You can't just assume that everything that it spits out is good code and stuff like that. So I don't think it's there yet. There is potential that at some point, it could start to uh, maybe initially require fewer people for certain roles and disciplines that are more repetitive than others. But it's not gonna fully replace even those people, I think. And I think the only way we get to a place where AI is truly replacing a ton of jobs is at the point where, and I know I'm getting a little heady here, but at the point where quantum computing uh, starts to have some really practical applications and merges with AI, at that point, I would say, then we should be concerned because the potential for quantum and quantum computing and what it could do and the doors it could open, it's something that's gonna, I personally think, change the world radically. But that's just me. What do you think, Blueprint?
AI, it can replace some jobs as far as automation. Um, but again, it's too far ahead to even make a determination where this thing's going to go and how this thing's going to be used. It's going to be determined by application, how it's going to be used. I know with cybersecurity, they are doing implementation with AI. Um, but will that replace the worker? I don't think so. I don't see it doing that. It's just going to make the job more efficient at this point.
Yeah,
Um, because with hackers nowadays, they're coming up with new stuff every time. It is so weird how, not even weird, I know how they do it, but they can go and take a malware, change it up, and still send it to you, and it'll activate as a malware. AI may not even be able to pick that up.
mm,
That's the thing.
yeah.
Um,
The thing with AI that I think is that a lot of people overlook or don't understand is that a lot of the input or a lot of the outputs that it gives to is very cookie cutter. So unless we're having a bunch of various AI models that think very differently, for certain jobs, it lacks that human element. And for certain things, that's good, right? Like things that are very procedural, like coding, it could be really good. But even coding to an extent also requires a heavy amount of creativity. And I think that sometimes, AI lacks that element of ingenuity and doing something that's novel. So I don't really see it, fully taken over until there's a lot of questions or a lot of downsides that are fixed that what's the phrase, the 2% problem or something like that. That last 2% problem could really take a long time to solve, and so I don't think in the next decade even, we'll get there. Maybe in that 10 to 15 year mark, it might start becoming really like evident that, hey, there's going to be jobs that are fully replaced. But I still think there's the shelf life of this career is still going to be there, even potentially 20 years from now. It'll just look very different at that point.
Yeah,
We
that's true.
got another question here. Uh, from Eternal Virtuals. He says, any tips or tools for IT help desk that can help you advance and master it quickly? And for IT, what is the best way to network?
For the first question, I can't really answer that because I never worked in a help desk role. So I don't know too much about it. There was one person who worked help desk in my company, but we never spoke, and I never got to see like what his job duties entailed and things like that. As far as networking, though, go to events. If you live in a major city, there's all sorts of meetups on meetup.com that you could go to, going on LinkedIn, joining groups for, local IT groups within a certain city and seeing if they have meetups on there, but also, cold approaching people, messaging people on LinkedIn and things like that, and asking them to get on calls and, setting up, times on your Calendly to network remotely is another way. There's plenty of ways to network. It's just having the courage to reach out to people and to go to those events.
As far as the IT help desk, cybersecurity does work with them to a various extent. Um, Kind of my question to you is this: why you? I understand you going in IT as a help desk, but why would you want to stay in IT as a help desk when you can progress further? Because
I
that's
think I think help desk is a very good entry level.
oh
Like,
yeah, definitely. Even when
it,
you have cybersecurity certification, if you can't get into like a
mhm.
SOC analyst, or IT help desk will be the next best thing
Yep.
to
I
get
think
you in.
it's the place, like if you're struggling to land a job, even, let's say if you're going into cybersecurity or even as a software engineer, if you're struggling to land a job, and don't have any sort of experience, then the help desk position, can help you get your foot in the door at a company. And from there, and networking, within the company, you can start to show your projects or your skills in certain jobs, and start, to put out teasers and interests in roles that might be opening, so you can eventually transition into a cybersecurity role or a software engineering role. I think it's a good place, but I would agree, like if you can learn something else and on top of that, then yeah, you could get ahead and do so much more in this
Yeah, a
industry.
lot more money on that, especially when you get out of the IT help desk. Is cybersecurity is a lot more money. You get
Hmm.
you, and literally you grow faster. I know a lot of guys that making six figures right now.
Hmm. The
You
thing, the
know,
thing with tech and IT in general, it's just that there is so much you can do. I mean, so much. I
yeah, that's
mean,
true.
from project management, UI, UX, machine learning, AI, cybersecurity. Yeah, I mean, there are literally dozens of disciplines, and so you first have to think about what do you want to do before you start going. And again, don't get shiny object syndrome, because if you switch every few months, you're never going to land your first job. It's just going to be so, like, you're just going to be running in circles and never reach a finish line.
Also, don't chase the dollar. Because I know a lot of people look at these jobs. Oh, this is paying 150,000 a year. I want to get the training for that, but you may not grasp that training.
Hmm.
Honestly, you
Hmm.
might not grasp it. Me coming from the Intel side of the house, all the stuff that I did in the military that was Intel related, related back to doing cyber threat intel. So it was all I just needed was the certifications. The same methodology that they use to do their thing, same thing what I did in the military. So I'm familiar with it. I'm used to it. That's why I'm trying to get to those types of positions in the future. Um, like I said, my company's grooming me to do projects like that. So that way I get some experience and some grooming, and it's very fascinating and very fun. But if you are out there chasing the dollar, you can fall flat in your face because there's those jobs pay very requires high skill, very, very high skill. And even if you go into a class to do it, are you going to understand the concepts and everything? Those are very highly educated training courses that you're taking, especially when you're dealing with something like cloud or network
Mm-hmm.
engineering and stuff like that. That's very high end stuff. So you got to be one that's going to be extremely dedicated and have that love for that type of stuff in order to be successful.
Yeah, if you don't have a growth mindset, even starting down this path, it's a no go. Because I remember my first year learning this stuff, being in a coding boot camp. I mean, the level of frustration I had having to learn something this hard for the first time in my life was insane. I mean, the kind of frustration where you're so mad you're in the verge of tears. But that's also the added pressure from the coding boot camp. Where if you didn't finish certain milestones, then you got to repeat a whole month. And oh man, I could talk all day about how challenging it could be, but you got to sort of just pace yourself and keep the long term vision. Especially if you're going self taught or a coding boot camp route, you're talking about condensing what most people in a college program learn in 4 to 6 years, condensing it down to a 6 or 12 month program and getting moderately in-depth information of each things that they learn, and then trying to jump in. So just pace yourself, have realistic expectations. There's people who think that they're going to jump into this and that they're going to have a job in 3 months, and if that's your mindset, you're just setting yourself up for failure. I would say 8 months to 8 to 12 months, it's very early in my opinion. But if you're treating it like a full-time job, putting in 40 hours a week, then it's doable. But there aren't too many people that would be able to do that outside of a coding environment, or I mean a boot camp environment. So just set up realistic expectations.
Rome, shoot up one on the questions on the chat. Shoot up one because there was a question.
About this one.
No, hold up. The last question you had posted, start from there and then shoot up one. Forgot where you put the question at now. Try to find it.
That's the latest question I see. The last
No,
one
it's
was
from Ultimate Brand Design Channel.
Okay, I had a feeling. I was wondering if you wanted to address him because he kind of been. I've never seen him before, and he kind of been randomly like blowing up the.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, can you shoot that question?
I'm not
Then
sure.
we could jump back to that one in a second.
I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, when you had the Eternal one, Eternal Virtue. No, wait, my bad. I screwed up.
Oh, you talking about this one?
Yeah.
Oh man, you see, okay.
Yeah,
About outsourcing.
because what he's saying is that the particular fields that y'all are referring to are global and being outsourced to these other countries.
Yeah.
Where the economy isn't isn't the U.S. is not the U.S. dollar, so it's not as strong. Therefore, they're paying them less.
So here's a few things about that I'll say initially. For one, the U.S. is the powerhouse when it comes to, technology and all of that. Our industry is thriving. Brain drain of all the other countries come here because they're looking to earn high incomes. And, in the USA for these disciplines, they earn the most here. So a lot of people, there's a ton of Indians that we have to compete with, even within the USA, who want to come here on visas. On every application, it asks if you're going to need a sponsorship. But outside of that, which I'll let Blueprint talk about, is the fact that, there are a ton of cybersecurity concerns when it comes to outsourcing work and outsourcing, your code base, right? And giving access to foreign workers, this sort of information that companies are concerned about. They don't want, very sensitive information leaving the country and giving people access to certain informations that can cause the company to get robbed or lose money, or all of these things, or get attacked. So yeah, the whole thing about companies outsourcing, there are some companies that are outsourcing some medial jobs and to some of these countries, but they're not. The vast majority of jobs remain here in the USA even to this day.
Hey, hold on, hold that thought. I just want to say, cause I'm like, Charles, did we meet? Did we meet when we were in Cebu? Because I noticed you said you by Cebu,
Mm.
and I met a lot of brothers the last time I was in Cebu earlier this year.
Okay, yeah, he left another one there that says trained by IBM, Unix admin.
Okay, so we did meet. I'm trying to remember Charles David. That name sounds familiar. I
Mm,
met a lot of brothers in Cebu, man, because I went to this gathering.
nice.
Um, said yes, we did BIP. BIP. What's BIP, Charles? Was that breakfast that we had? Was that you that I met at that breakfast with the True Girls?
Mm,
I'm trying to remember, man. I think that's who this is. If that's the case, I know this exactly who this is.
okay.
That's I'm telling you, bro. Like these guys overseas are building communities. That's why I'm over here, like, bro. I
Yeah,
know. I see. Like, I know the real passport, bro. See, like,
yeah,
yeah, brothers in the Philippines. Yeah, that
yeah.
was
I
Okay,
what I
I know who this is. Okay.
what I will say is that there's definitely some value if you are thinking about going to live abroad and starting like a, let's say, a web development agency, and you could hire some Filipinos and you could get clients within the US to handle certain kind of jobs, right? Like building websites and things like that. There is a arbitrage there, like a white label arbitrage that you could do there to, get clients. Maybe they pay you 5,000 for a job, you pay somebody, 15,000 or 1,500 for a job, and it's not something that goes into handling really sensitive information for clients and things like that, that I've found really interesting and thought about doing myself. So there is that side of it. But Blueprint, what did you have
Yeah,
something?
outsourcing in cybersecurity, they're not going
Mhm.
to risk that unless
Yeah, no.
it's a company's hiring a service provider or management security service provider to monitor their systems. That's going to all be in the U.S.
Mhm.
There's too much. Matter of fact, I read a story in Security Week. They just hired one company just hired a guy to work on their systems. 4 hours into his job, he was caught putting malware in the system. 4 hours in.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in
Yeah,
cybersecurity. I mean, it's you're talking about
Homeland
access to
Security.
infrastructure, homeland security. Yeah, like we're not going to give them access to the most sensitive information that could leave the USA open to cybersecurity threats. It's not going to happen. So you guys are definitely very secure on that end.
I mean, it's a necessary evil because even like with crypto, for example, everybody's heavily relying on crypto now as their, money source now. You got to be careful because there's a lot of groups out there stealing
Mhm.
crypto. And
Absolutely.
the biggest crypto thief right now, I'll give you a hint. Donald Trump walked across the DMZ with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he is the
So
biggest one.
that's wild.
And
So
they're stealing crypto left and right.
what was that other question that was asked that we skipped over? I kind of wanted to jump in on that
Yeah,
one.
this one right here. It says, in this market, do you think a software engineering degree is necessary to land a job if you already have the skills to work as a software engineer?
I think it helps. Is it necessary? No. I'm still able to land interviews. I'm landing fewer than I'm sure with people with degrees. Okay. So if you ever served in the military, right? There's this trend that happens, right? In time of war, the government lowers its requirements for you to join the military. Maybe they might drop the requirement for you to have a lower ASVAB score. Maybe they allow you to have tattoos or certain criminal backgrounds because they're trying to recruit people to go and fight a war. The same applies in software engineering. With the sways of the economy, right? So in this current economic situation, it's an employer's market. There's a lot of competition out there of people who got laid off, people who are entering the industry with degrees and they're self-taught workers. So companies can choose to be more prejudiced and say, we're only going to aim for people who previously worked at a FANG company because there's a lot of those people, out looking for work, right? Or maybe they're going to require you to have a degree and all of that. But even though that's true, there's still a lot of smaller companies or companies outside of not tech, by the way, a little segue there. Tech is only one aspect of the broader, software engineering, jobs that are open. When we say tech jobs, that's referring to like working for Snapchat or Facebook or a company that is just focused on technology. You can also go work for banks. You could go work for, companies that, are selling products in e-commerce. You can go work for a mom and pop that maybe, needs you to do some work for them or go work at an agency. There's a lot of various different ways that you could get jobs in software engineering. And during this time where companies are being a little more strict on who they're looking to hire, if you're someone who's self-taught or coming out of a coding boot camp and you notice that there's all these people with all of these skills and years of experience and college grads, and it's hard for you, you also have the option of maybe going to those smaller companies and picking up a job there until the demand, sways back into the employees and then it's an employee market until you get hired, in your next tech role. So that's something that you could do there.
Yeah, I just put a name up in the chat. Sandra Liu, believe that's a correct spelling.
Yeah, I've seen
She,
that.
yeah, she's she has several years in cybersecurity. She just did a little bit of a research about why is it so hard to get cybersecurity jobs, and there was many reasons, and if I can remember them all, one of the reasons is there's kind of a disconnect between the hiring managers and recruiters as far as what do you want this employee to have, and they run off this whole list of that, and this is for an entry level position. That's why it's kind of hard to get in because a lot of those job announcements, they're asking requirements for people of middle management or, you know, to have all these skills. And these are newbies coming out of colleges and boot camps. that don't have that, including the amount of years doing the job. That's one of the issues. Another issue is that they figured that if they're laying off the top end, these guys going to need a job to work anyway. So they got higher skills. We'll just hire these guys at this lower level, at this lower pay, because they're going to have to take care of the mortgage and all this other stuff. So got to eat, got to eat. And that's where, we don't, the entry level people don't get in this field. It's when you're in this field, you'll see a bunch of opportunities you can play with. But when I was trying to get into the field, try to be a cyber threat intel analyst, which I have all the skills that they need, minus a few here and there, I was just getting overlooked. And stupid HR rules is like, yeah, we decided to get someone inside, but we had to post a job anyway. Well, why are you doing it externally? Just do it internally. It makes no sense because you're just wasting my time putting out you're putting out job announcements with me getting my hopes up high because I have what you need, but you're intending to hire someone inside. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that could be really frustrating. And the thing is, that happens in the development side of things too. But really, the reason there's a lot of ghost job listings out there right now, on top of there already being a lot fewer jobs, I would say right now a good one third of the job listings that are posted are ghost jobs or listings that expired months ago, that aren't new job postings that they're even actively looking to hire. But a lot of them are just companies posturing and trying to raise funding out of desperation. And what they do is that they say that they say to their investors, hey, if you look, we have 10 or 20 job listings posted. We're growing. We're actively trying to get those people. We just can't find the people who are qualified for what we're looking, for them to do in this role, but we are growing. And then they fudge around the numbers even though the company went through rounds of layoffs, right, to save money, right? They'll use that money that they saved as a way to, fudge the numbers on their P&L, their profit and loss, to say that, hey, look, we made X amount of dollars, but they didn't really make X amount of dollars. They just laid off a bunch of people. And so they're able to make it look like that money's profit when it really isn't. But, that's just sort of some of the pain that happens, in a tough market like we're in. And you just kind of have to know the games that are played in a capitalistic society. And I would actually say, since we're on that topic, pay attention to what's happening now, a lot of the complaints that people have, and realize that we do live in a capitalistic society that does rely heavily on a Federal Reserve, a central bank. That how the stock markets are performing impacts whether a company can keep people employed, or whether investors are willing to invest in companies and startups or companies that are growing, does impact your employment. And plan ahead for the future so that you have a year of savings or 2 years of savings, so that the next market cycle, which this happens every 10 to 15 years, the next market cycle, you're prepared to ride out these 1 or 2 year lows in the economy. Because it's one thing I guarantee you, it's not going to be the last time we have one of these economic cycles. And even if the U.S. lost global reserve currency status and turned into some B-tier rated country or something like that, these cycles are still going to be around even then. Capitalism and the way that things work don't just end because of that. So anticipate that this is going to happen in the future and prepare.
Yeah, basically, on the cybersecurity side, find a position that you feel comfortable in. So many positions out there, both technical and non-technical. The current hot non-technical right now is GRC analyst, which stands for governance, risk, and compliance. You're basically an auditor. for cybersecurity, and that's the big money maker right now. Um, for the non-technical, is it hard to get into? It's going to be a bit of a it's going to be a challenge due to the fact that they want people either with auditing experience or cybersecurity experience. Um, and again, you got to try to get into this field the best way you can. If you have to start at IT help desk, great, start there. Um, I know the pay's not the best, but it gets you in the system so that way you can move, because a lot of guys move around every year or two to different companies, different positions. They just bounce from job to job. That's, they go from this start, then they go for another job that pays higher, then they go for another job that pays higher. People move around for a lot of different reasons, and that's why cybersecurity is always going to be so fluid, because you get people who jump from positions to positions, and then they'll break away and then they do their own thing, may become a consultant, may start their own startup, they may go into teaching. um, there are a bunch of YouTubers out there right now that are doing their own thing and they're making bank. And like Simone Bees, she's one of my biggest influences on there. Tech is the new black. There's just a whole bunch of influences, African American influence on top of that are out there doing the whole tech thing. It's very fluid, it's very fast paced. So if you ain't finding a job right now, what you should be doing is picking the profession, the particular position you want to get into. Look at that announcement, look at what they're asking for. If they got certain skills over there, start getting them. Because there's a lot of resources on here that you can pay for little to, some are free, some are just take a little bit of money, a subscription, like Python. There's places you can learn Python coding from online. You got Udemy, which is one of my favorite sources. Every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they drop their prices down where it's a lot affordable. You can just grab it. It's like $20 to anywhere from $20 to $50 to buy their courses. Sit there, learn something from them. Always continue to learn after you get your major certification. Like if you got your Security Plus, cool. You don't stop. You keep going. That's how you're going to get into this field. It's going to take a while. But once you get those skill sets and you've been practicing on your computer, and I highly recommend you get a separate computer to do all that stuff, learn how to build labs, just like Rilla had said about portfolios. You got to build, you got to show them that you know stuff.
Right.
You really got to show them that you know what you're doing.
Especially out the gate.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Especially out the gate, you just need to have those projects. But there's things, that Marcus is commenting, being your coding elitist. Yeah, I swear. But, there's a lot of things that only come with experience in years in the industry, right? That out the gate you don't really need. So a lot of those things that he's mentioning in the comments aren't really necessary for entry level devs, but are necessary as you, depending on the size of the company, what they're looking for. If you're joining a startup, spaghetti code is going to be the main premise because you got to deliver a bunch of value. You want it to be as maintainable as possible, but when companies are scaling quick and you're wearing a lot of hats, spaghetti code is just going to happen naturally. And at some point when the company scales, you're going to do another rewrite of the application and try to design it to be more scalable. But it really depends on a lot of different things. Anyways, sorry, I got sidetracked by his comments there, and it really,
and I was just reading it too, and he has a point. You really got to go in and knowing that stuff, because even in cybersecurity, they're going to ask you questions, and there's usually like they got like You can Google the questions that they might ask, but also remember it's not just hard skill, it's also soft skill.
Mhm.
Can you work as a team? Um, do you know how to talk to people? That type of
Yeah.
thing. Those soft skills do help out because they like that teamwork environment, especially with, some of the tensions that goes on in offices, office drama and stuff like that. I'm quite sure all three of us on this panel know about office drama because yeah,
The
we know a
politics,
lot about that and we try to
Oh
avoid it.
Lord, don't get me started.
Yeah,
office politics is the worst.
exactly. So you got to have those soft skills, those people skills. That's also important. So it's a lot of development, not just the technical side,
You know,
but also the other side.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, get your foot in the door is what I would say. Everything else that you're going to learn, you'll learn on the way when you experience it. There's just, it's a job like anything else. And when you're doing it at a high level, you got to anticipate that there's going to be good sides and bad sides to everything. Some of these things we're talking about, like office politics, that's going to exist anywhere where groups and communities and companies and businesses reside. There's a lot of downsides to being in an industry like this that I could mention. Everything from office politics to understanding the jargon that companies will always try to make to paint the most optimistic and rosy picture, even though we're in the worst economy. And they'll, you got to know how to read in between the lines and see what's being said, because if you don't, then you'll get sideswiped and have the rug pulled on you and not even know what happened, even though the company and the language and what they were speaking about and meetings were hinting at layoffs are on the way. you know so there's a lot of things that you'll learn. My main advice would just be, learn all the basics, learn the essentials, work on your portfolio, definitely develop soft skills, but just work on getting your foot in the door, networking, and do everything you can in your power to land that first position. Because after you have a year or two under your belt, from there it gets easier to land the next opportunity, barring us being borderline in a recession.
Yeah, it's very important to get that first gig and you got to put your best foot forward. You got to have a lot on that resume and also learn how to write resumes. Write them properly, write them geared towards whatever the profession you're getting into because they tend to change a little bit as far as
That's fun.
formally.
That's funny. I feel like this is one of the first places, and I don't know. Maybe it's because of cybersecurity. Uh, uh, I hate writing resumes. I hate gearing, each tailoring each resume to the job and doing all of that. And so the way that I've landed a lot of my jobs were to be, people oriented first, right? So for some reason, I have a gift of, because of some of the knowledge and some of the things I speak about on LinkedIn that you can go and audit, I tend to get chief technology officers at mid-size or smaller companies. They'll reach out to me and offer me to interview. And so I would say, like, yeah, it's a good skill to have. I know a lot of people who apply to jobs and they get roles, but one of the things that I really hate about that approach is how many resumes people end up having to write, right? Like applying to 200, 300, 400 jobs before landing a position. Where the last two roles I held, when I started applying to jobs and I'm putting out 2, 3, 4, 5 applications a day, I'll land a role through speaking to people, networking, and my posts on LinkedIn and trying to be a little bit of an influencer on LinkedIn. By the time I place 60 job applications, I've already landed my next opportunity. I think this is the longest stint that I've had unemployed. But I do think it's good advice. I'm not, not saying anything against it, but I do think there's something to be said about being an influencer, in this space. Even if you're not a professional, like 10 years of experience and all knowing and all of that, I do find that people who are influencers who post about their journey in tech tend to get a lot more opportunities sooner than those who don't. What do you think about that?
That's true, because I'm gonna start a blog post on CTI stuff on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
because I want to start posting those blogs. I used to post blogs when I was in school dealing with terrorism stuff,
Mhm.
the new trends that was going on in the Levant area, which is Syria, Israel, occupied West Banks, um, Jordan. And I used to, keep tabs on what's going on with various terrorist groups. And I used to post those. And I get some good response back from a lot of the professional in the industry. So
Mhm.
that is another way, if you're really good at what you're doing, start posting stuff, make a blog and start posting and start getting people into your stuff, because now they're going to be like, when you put that on your resume, they're going to look at your LinkedIn stuff and it's like, hey, he posted
Yeah,
this, some interesting stuff. He really knows his stuff. So
right. If you could help recruiters and employers find you, right, by being visible on LinkedIn through the content that you're posting and you're sharing your knowledge, you're going to cut through the noise, because the thing is, it's really hard for recruiters to sift through resumes and GitHubs and all that, and to find people with the right talent, where if you're just displaying those skills through your writings, through your blogs, through your videos, and you're being an influencer and a likable person, you just cut through all the noise and get directly to the source by just having the right person following you. But I got look Rome over here looking like he's falling asleep here for a second. You saw his eyes roll. But yeah,
yeah,
what
recruiters only take 10 seconds to look at resumes. 10 seconds.
yeah. Yep.
That's it. And
Do
if
we
it's
have any?
nothing that they capture, or if there's something that they got to read a Diary of Anne Frank with, it goes in the garbage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
10 seconds.
Yep. So those keywords is really what I see a lot of people focus on, and metrics, measurable data is what I see a lot of people focus on those resumes, having a few key points that are strong, hard hitters to catch the reader's eye. But do we have any more questions up here? Or
Um, yeah, I don't see any more questions, you guys.
all right.
Uh,
Hey, ho-
we're going on like a little over an hour and a half, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, what's
Yep.
up, man? Um, again, these guys' links are in the chat. Make sure y'all subscribe to Life with Rilla and as well as Passport Blueprint.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
Mhm.
Passport Blueprint. Hit me up after this. I wanted to holler at you about Brazil.
Okay.
Trying to come up with the schedule for 2025, travel schedule for 2025. So
Oh, definitely.
Nice.
um getting that figured out. So
I
but
need to get my subscribers up, need to get
mhm.
my views up so that way I can join you guys. But yeah, I'm essentially doing the same thing Rome is doing, putting out reaction videos. If you guys want to check that out, I really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing, Rome. And thanks for having me on again, brother. This was fun. I'd love to come up and do another video or another live like we did the other day. Even if there's no situation, maybe we could do a live reaction to something. We could plan something. But yeah, really appreciate you for having me on, man. And I'm looking forward to, everything, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming on, brother. Um Passport Blueprint. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Always love being here. And even though I'm on a little bit of a hiatus, I just put out a bunch of shorts, but I will be back doing lives and long forms soon. Um, right now, I'm in this very difficult training that I'm doing right now, and it's kicking my butt. So once that's done, I'm just trying to get two of the certs, two of the six certs. Once I'm finished with that, I got to go back to the pen testing stuff to do the Python portion and practice up the skill sets, which I can manage at time with doing content creation. Um, and the blog thing, still working on how to set that one up for LinkedIn. Um, those are these are things that, you're gonna do. You're gonna constantly be learning, like we just said. It's never ending, and it's gonna cost more money than you think. You're gonna have a lot of money flowing out of your pocket just for training, because some of that training the company will take care of, but for the most part, it's like Theo Waffin said, he had something like a $10,000 budget for training.
It's
That's out of his
wild,
pocket.
man. I hear some of y'all's training over there is insane and crazy expensive, man. That's another thing about our side, man. Our trainings are not like you guys at all.
Security Plus. Well, first of all, the boot camps are expensive. They can range anywhere from five
Yeah.
to 20,000.
Yeah, the boot
It
camp
depends.
is where it's expensive on this side too. But outside of
Yeah,
that, we don't have like some certifications that cost $2,000 just for the test, and you might fail it. Like that's insane, you know.
yeah. I mean, and I recommend people, if you're starting off in these careers, go to a boot camp,
Mhm.
because you got to understand how they're doing stuff and the training. Because I know a lot of people who took, matter of fact, one of our instructors told me
Oh
about
man,
one guy who took CompTIA Security Plus 7 times.
yeah. I'll say this before I get off here. If you do go to a college, make sure you review the college, do your research on the college, man. Don't just choose any old college because the amount of people and if you do go to college, apply yourself, learn everything that they're teaching you. Make sure it's not a college that's just teaching you old coding languages like C and C sharp, and that's it, you know. Make sure that they're teaching you some of the newer languages or that you're learning it on the side. Because in my coding boot camp, there were so many college graduates there. My mind was blown. Like I'm like, you went to college, you should know this stuff already, but they also had to attend a coding boot camp because they didn't know modern frameworks and technologies and stuff like that. So they had to get up to date with what's relevant in the time that we live. So, yeah.
Very
Mm,
true.
mm,
A lot of money.
mm. Man.
Yeah,
But,
just to continue doing what you're doing, a lot of money. I can tell you, I wasted probably the stuff that I was supposed to do in training that I didn't end up doing. I've wasted so far $15,000, not 1,500. The stuff that I'm actually doing right now, if I put my total budget of what training that I'm doing right now, my budget so far I spent, maybe outside of the major search that I got, it's got to be creeping close to 4 grand
mm,
total, and I'm not even done yet, because I want to get that red team operator certification, and I got training in between that one to get to that level, and that course is going to be about $1,700
mm.
I
for
think the
9
good,
months
the good, the good,
access.
the good side is though, is that because you're cybersecurity, because you're working in GovTech, there's a lot of security in terms of work, and opportunities for work, in the government sector. So it's not like on this side where, the pay is high, and entry level wise, apparently it's higher than cybersecurity initially. However, with those certifications over a period of time working in the government, that pay can really extend itself. But on average, on this side, even for a small company, you could be making 150K, right? If you work for Fang or a large company, you can make half a mil, with experience. But it really all comes down to a lot of various factors. What state are you in? All of these different things. So the pay range is insane. But anyways, man, I appreciate you guys for having me on. I got to get off here. It's getting pretty late, and I have something to do in the morning. But man, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Rome, thanks for having me on. I'm gonna go ahead and get off here.
All right, man.
All
Appreciate
right,
you.
later.
All right, have a
All
good
right,
one.
man.
Good one, bro.
We out of here, you guys, man. Y'all know how we ride out when we fly out. Deuces.